This is the documentation of my game Nose Wars by me, Taha Arkian, with the username Tursop, and it took me 4 years in the making. Okay, hello people, this is my first video on YouTube where I officially talk. This is the presentation of the game I've been working on for almost 4 years now, since 2020. And it's a round-based PvP game that's played with around 10 people, and each round takes around 240 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you fight with your noses, kind of like Pinocchio. You can enlarge your nose, and it's kind of like narwhals. Some animals use their noses to engage in war or to defend themselves. Alright, what I want to start with is the data loader of this of the game. I'll talk about the main script on how the game runs later, and I just want to start talking about basic things. So what I did is I wrote scripts in which data would load when the player would join, or stuff alike. But I realized that the events that would see when, for example, a player's added, or other types of events would sometimes not fire because of server lag, different issues, etc. So I decided to put in the lobby room, I decided to put a data loader script with transparency 0 and non-collidable parts so that you can go through it. And I added a script to it so that every time a player touched it, it would verify for the data, see if it's missing or not. And you might wonder, like, since it's checking almost all the time that the player is in the lobby, it's probably going to be some performance issues, right? Well, I also documented that too, and I'll talk about it in the future slides. So inside the script, there's a section for the loading of the game passes. See, here it says, if not, game.players hit.parent.name, find first child, v teleport. Then this basically means this v teleport over here, it's a string value that's added to the player when the game verifies for the game pass. So here it's checking, does a player have the game pass verified with the string value? If not, make this new string instance.new int value. Sorry, not a string value, it's an int value, my bad. It's int value, and its parent should be the player. Game.players hit.parent.name. Hit.parent.name means the player name, because hit is a character and the parent would be the the hit is a humanoid, and the parent would be the character, so you take the character's name. So we say istring.name equals vita. The value at first is 0, and then it checks if the user has a certain game pass, and it gives a value 1, so that whenever the game checks to see if the player has some kind of privilege, it can see this 1 over here, and it can do things with it. And similar thing goes here, but this is different, a little different. This is for the cash multiplier game pass. So there's basically a folder called reward in the player. No, my bad. There's a folder called double cash game pass, and the reward is inside the folder, and the folder is in the player. And this basically what it does is that by default this thing is 1. For people who don't have the game pass, the money they earn will be multiplied by 1. But if they own the game pass over here, this reward value will be 4. So every time a new reward is added, we just take this value, multiply it by that. So should have 4 times more cash than usual if you have the game pass. You might wonder, I wrote double cash game pass. That's from a long time ago. I didn't change it, but same thing, it's just a different name. And this over here, again, it checks to see if the player has already been verified for this thing. And this is for the trail, so some players have a trail. What this does, math.random tick, it makes sure that the process that's used with math.random becomes, we could say, a little more random, because sometimes it's possible that when you use math.random it continually repeats to give the same value. So I put that here, and it checks to see if there's a certain game pass. It gives a random color sequence, which is in fact actually just one color. I made it so that it would be one color at the end, and adds the trail to the head of the character. Add some attachments, and yeah. This is a similar thing, but this time you might see I named it T-pose over here. At first it was supposed to be a T-pose game pass, where you could do the T-pose emote, but later on I decided to change it with a prop like sunglasses. So this is actually a sunglass. This is a game pass for sunglasses. It checks to see if the player's backpack has this thing. If it doesn't have it, then it checks to see if the player has a game pass, and this is a debounce value. See, it does it for 1 second, and for this 1 second that the process is running over here, see, even in the task.spawn is supposed to run it at the same time, like open a new thread. See, it waits 1 here, and it also waits 1 here. This is to prevent the player from getting duplicated versions of the same thing. And basically what this does, it gives a tool, it clones a tool from the replicated storage, because I put in the replicated storage, and gives it to the player in their backpack. The data saving method, at first I used a simple data source that one would usually use on Roblox, but I found out that it doesn't store the data really well. So I decided to go with Kampf Karen's data store 2, which took me actually like 2 months to put this in the game. It's a really hard process, but at the end it worked. As you might imagine, when I first started scripting this game, I was a beginner, so I didn't quite know what I was doing. That's why I think it took me maybe 2 months to put this in the game. Here what it does is that it checks if the player has the leader stats added to them, and if they don't have it added to them, they're kicked out of the game to avoid data loss. Just in case there's some bug or issue that happens and the player accidentally goes in a round and they don't have the leader stats for them to receive the cash, they're just gonna be kicked out before that even happens, as to not break the game script. Same thing goes for here. There's something called backup cache. This leader stats actually is a folder that contains a cache value, but this backup cache is not a folder. It's a int value that is inside the player, but this is a folder that has the int value, and the folder itself is inside the player. This thing is a backup of this, so it verifies if this thing is right. Not right. Let's say there's a discrepancy. I'll show it later on in the script. If this thing is less than this, it gets replaced with this, so that to assure that there's no data loss. Inside on purchase system and loading system, basically I made badges for the different customizations sold in the shop in the game. As some kind of progress or saving system, if you want to look at it. And also for the levels, if you notice in some other games like Murder Mystery, each 5 levels gives you like another badge, you could say. I decided to do something similar, so I put all their IDs in order. I had to copy them from the Roblox developer page. It was really easy, just click on copy asset on the buttons, and yeah. But I think an easier process would be to use a script that does all of that for you and puts it all in the same table in a few seconds. But decided it doesn't take that much time. So here what it does, it checks to see if in the replicated storage there is something with the name of the player followed with customization purchase. This folder basically gives you, it's basically the thing that loads the badges in the game. So if there's a discrepancy in the data, and for example you don't have an item, it will check the badges and see if you actually have this item. So yeah, so my bad. This actually verifies when a player joins the game and this folder is added to them. We'll verify to see if okay, I will restart this part over here. It means that basically there's an int value that's added every time the player joins the game and remove every time the player leaves the game. This value, whenever the shop fires a command that someone's buying something, yeah, because you can buy some things if you want, you can buy them with Robux. When this value becomes bought, that means the player has bought the thing. So it checks for these conditions, and it checks for every item in the inventory to see which one was newly added, and it gives a new badge of the new item that was purchased to them. But this is only if you want to buy it with Robux. In the shop, all of the items you can buy them with credits, so it should be fine. It's only an option if you want to get some customization sooner. And this is the level check system. Basically what it does, if not game.replicate storage find first child level checker .hit.parent.name. So there's a level checker in replicate storage followed with the player's name, and it checks if this is here yet. If it's not there, it will create it, and for all the 250 badges or level badges, well, no, for the 250 levels, and for each level there's a for each five levels there's a badge. For each of these 250 levels, it will start a loop where 5 would be removed at the same time to verify some things. And what it does, and it does that every 1 second, right? Wait 1. If the player has a badge that's associated with this level number, see, this level number will be that divided by 5 because we're giving badges at each 5 levels. And they don't have the high level value added in the replicated storage. That means the highest level thing. That's a value that's used to verify the highest level that was verified from before. So if for example it's checking, and for example it sees at 250 the player has a badge, this value will be 250 and will remain 250. Here it checks if it hasn't been verified again for this high level, and if it hasn't been added, it creates it and it gives it the new current value that's supposed to be like the highest value, and it puts it in the game.replicate storage. And if this level value is greater than or equal to this this number that's being subtracted every second by 5, then right again it will do a similar thing like from over here, and if the player doesn't have the badge associated to it, it will award this badge to them. And later on I will talk about how often the badge service is used and how many HTTP requests could be used per minute to see if there could be potential performance issues, and because usually too many HTTP service requests will either slow down the game or prevent other requests from coming. Here it checks for the customization. Every time the player is loaded, it will. There's basically a script that that creates a folder for each player that joins the game with their current with the nose customizations associated with their badges, and it will once all of these are added. I'm pretty sure it's a string value. It will be added. This will be added completed load. So when the loading is complete, this will be added, and basically it waits for this to happen. I might notice I use task.spawn quite a lot, and I'm using wait for child, which is yielding in it, so it could cause some performance issues, which I will mention later. So it waits for this, and it starts a loop for every item that has been associated with the badges. It will see if it is a number value, because this is a string value. This is also in the folder. We want to put a distinction between these two. If it is a number value and not found in the player inventory, then it will take the clone of that item and add it in the player inventory as a way of loading the data that could potentially be lost. And like I said, for this wait for child thing over here that yields, and this is inside the thread, if a thread yields, it could be stuck on the CPU, and it could cause performance issues, and it could slow down the game by a lot. I will talk about this later. Like I told you before, this section talks about like if the backup cache has more than the cache, make them equal. If it's less than it, make them equal. Same thing for the level. And this checks for a change in the level. So if the change is greater than or equal to 5, let's say this is the condition for it to be suspicious, for the code to think, something's going on, I gotta maybe add a badge to the player. So it checks if this level value is greater than or equal to 5 times the floor of the level value divided by 5, which is basically the lower number that's associated of each 5 steps that's associated to it. If the player doesn't have the badge, then give them the badge. That's what it does. Loading player badge to check for discrepancies in the inventory. Okay. So if the game finds out that these badge loads, this folder that's added to the game, like each time a player joins, this new folder is added to the badge loads. It checks if it's not added, and it adds it, and it waits 5, and then it starts bringing all the badges in. If he has a badge, then this is the badge name, this is that. You take the number of it. Basically, okay, let me go a few slides over here. Each badge, like these 27, 28, 29, 30, these are the positions of the things in the shop, and this is the positions of the levels L55, L60, etc. So here I told it to remove the E, take this number, and find its position in the table, and no, not in the table actually. I'm basically saying to create a number value whose name is this, and whose value is also this, which is basically the position in the shop. And this is the final table value, right? If this is equal to this, then add it, and then finally say completed load, as to prevent, as to show the other scripts that the loading is complete. These are the badges. Okay. Now, I told you how there are two methods of purchasing customizations. One is by gaining credits through playing the game, and one is through paying 300 Robux. I will demonstrate later in the gameplay. You can have both options. Basically, if you want to purchase something using Robux, you click on the item, and there's a little button on the corner. It says if you want to purchase it with Robux. You click on it, and the payment's transferred, and then you have the item and the badge. But here, I already talked about the game, how you can purchase with Robux. Here I will talk about how you can purchase it with credits. And how the badge is awarded every time that there's a purchase with the credits. So what it does, every time there's a purchase, it takes all of the names of the inventory, checks to see if the name of the badge that's associated to them is the same as the inventory, and it awards the player with the badge. And yeah. This also adds a new layer of a for loop to verify in general every time to buy an extra layer of protection, because this is more for the first time when you purchase. If I want to put it simply, I don't really want to go into much detail. This is just supposed to be a documentation. I just want to give you an idea. This removes the player's loads after they leave, so it waits 5 seconds, it destroys it. Same thing for this. Game.players, player moving colon connect function. The thing with player moving is that it works more than player added, because player added has some problem. The player might not, the event might not be caught by the game at the same time as the players actually being added, so it might forget, like it might not see the event. But player removing, everything usually works fine. The game understands that players are moving, and it destroys everything. Now for the game loop script on how the rounds run, same thing here, math.random seed tick, to randomize a map selection process. This checks to see if the playing team has less than 2 players, and if it's like that, it waits for enough players, and else it starts a new round. And it repeats wait 1 until there are enough players, and once there are enough players, there's basically a fun door. If you want to look at it, it's a door that leads to some sort of arcade room, and this door is blocked during intermissions as to prevent players, because the intermission is short, so we don't really want players to go in the arcade room when the round's going to start soon. And each player's character is loaded, kind of like reset their characters to get rid of their items, etc. And see over here, there's a winner value in replicate storage that has a previous round's winner name, and if this is not nothing, then it will just clone this winner tool and put it in the winner's backpack. And what this does is, winner tool is that whenever you win the round, you have like some sort of yellow glow around you as a way of showing, like, if you want superiority, I suppose. And then the value changes to intermission, and basically what this does is that it changes the position of some parts in the workspace that allow for spectating. When you touch this part, you can spectate, and when you don't touch it, you can't. And these basically just move away. Change places so that, like, the players during the round, they can't spectate. It it waits again just in case someone leaves and there's still like less than 2 players. Just in case it does that again, and then the round starts. The new table PLRs is defined. Each player is added to the table. A map is chosen randomly. This comes back to the original. These 2 parts I talk about here, they go back to another position. See, they change positions here. This was here, now this is here. This was here, now this is here. They switch places to not allow people spectating during the rounds. Some items from the server storage are cloned in each player, and some, if you see here the VTEL I talked about in the beginning, if the value is 1, there's going to be this FF tool that will be given to you. Here, if you have something equipped, it's not nothing. See, if the equipped value is not nothing and not game.replicated storage, just sabers confirm. These sabers, basically, there's something called nose sabers in the game. They're like nose customizations, but they glow. Like they have a glowy effect. Like there's a blue color, red color, white color, etc. This checks to see any of these 2 cases. Then it gives the equipped item to the player, and they have it in their backpack. If it's nothing, then it will just give a default nose to them. And a similar thing is done when the player owns one of these sabers. It will give them the nose saber. And here you see the Thunderbolts back to Can Collide Falls. Yeah, and if the game loop, like the time that has passed, is greater than showdown time, which is around 30 seconds, then it will say this message on top of the screen. And if it's less than that, showdown of death, this many seconds remaining. And a task of spawn function here for a new thread. And these are actually really important, these tasks of spawns. Just in case a loop breaks for some reason, it will just continue with the rest of the script, and there shouldn't be any errors. If it's equal to showdown time, take all the players and teleport them to some showdown room. This is because some players might camp in the map and not engage in the gameplay, so we put them in a small room at the end, and they gotta fight for their fates. You want to look at it like that. And if the number of players left is 1, forget about this. There was supposed to be a statue that would take the form of the winner, but I decided it would be too ugly for the lobby. The winner value will be this. The winner is plrs1.name. And remember, each time the PLR's table, each time a player is removed from the game, it will remove the player's name, and the first one remaining PLRs1 will be the winner. It will give the reward of the round to the player. It will also add the level to them. The winner name value in the replicate storage will be the name of the winner. And there's a stone statue sign in the workspace, and it will display the name of the winner. And there are all other conditions when there's no players left, everyone leaves for some reason, or when the time is out, the game stops and the new round is started. And another thing I didn't mention is that in this game you can walk on walls, and I used wall stick by Ego Moose, however, I'd say that there's still some problems with this. For example, you could get stuck in many places when you walk on walls. So I added the option to press E on the keyboard to release your character. What it does is that when you press E, it sits down your character of some sort, but when you sit down in Ego Moose's physics script, what it does is that it takes you out of the sticking for a few seconds, not a few seconds, for a short amount of time, and you're back to being unstuck, if you get what I mean, unstuck. Like you won't be stuck on a wall or like not be able to move anywhere else. And premium users also get perks. See here, it's there's a button in the lobby. Every time a player clicks it, it will check if they have a membership premium, and will also check if the player has already clicked the button. And each time the player clicks the button, there's a badge awarded to them. And for the first time when you click it, you will get 100 credits. Yeah, and something that could be misused here is that some people could go ahead and delete the badge and come back and get the reward. But that's why I think 100 credits would be a good reward, because if they'd like to do that, I think it's a waste of time, because just to do that, they could maybe go in the arcade room, play some obbies, and they could make 100 credits in a very short amount of time too. So it comes back to the same thing. There's also a competitive mode where you can fight in freestyle. There's no rounds, and there's a portal to it here. Whenever the portal is touched, the players teleport to the place where they can fight. Now let's talk about optimization. Is the use of task spawn function and for pseudo threads excessive? Could it slow down the game? Task spawn function, let me tell you something. In the Lua language, threads are not really possible. They're like pseudo threads. They look like threads, but they're not really threads, if you know what I mean. Basically, if the thread is not stopped, there's two ways it could stop. Either it finishes running what's in the thread, or there's an error that happens and it breaks and it stops, and it's removed. But if you make it wait, for example, wait for child or other wait functions, this thread will remain in the system, and it will make a lot of problems. That's why I decided to barely use any yielding behavior, unless for things that are almost definite to be there after yielding. For example, if I go back over here, I was talking about this wait for child. Let me find it. Was it here? See this wait for child in this thread. There's almost no way that this completed load will not eventually appear, so there shouldn't be any problem. So it shouldn't really affect the game too much. Yeah, I just talked about yielding too. Now about the constant data check. I talked about this part at the beginning that checks for data loss. See, all these things in this important loading scripts, all these things are inside that script over here. But these things are copy paste from different various scripts in the server script service, etc. This is just like a backup of the other scripts in case that they don't catch an event or anything. So that's actually why I thought that this script would be a good general overview of what is in the main in the server script service. Yeah. So, like I said, there's a lot of badge checks and HTTP service checks, and you might wonder how to stop such excessive behavior so that there's no excess of HTTP requests, etc. The HTTP requests, I made sure that it's mostly when someone joins a game that it happens. And another solution I thought about was that if the player thinks they experience data loss, I added two parts in the lobby. They can just click this and it will check it from click here for missing nose badge, click here for missing level badges. And when you click them, they disappear so that you don't constantly click on them and overuse it. There's a script in player script service that makes it disappear for the local player. And another thing is that you might think, we're touching this data checker part constantly all the time. So it's not just HTTP service checks; it's other checks too. Like uh, uh, we're using a lot of for loops, etc. But that also doesn't really affect the game in any significant manner. Because the things that usually slow down the game are calculations when you use C-frame, moving parts. I remember there was a clock in the lobby who would slow down the game a lot, which would slow down the game a lot with its rotating rotating arrows. So that shouldn't be any problem. And I'll show you the performance stats a few slides later. And I already talked about this. Okay, let's talk about the performance stats now. The performance stats are varying. When I played on my mobile phone, if you see here, the memory is around 967.12 megabytes. But after a player joined, it's around 604. So I don't think it. Not after a player joined. Actually, that's after the round started. So I think it's probably what I think is that this is because of the repeat wait one when it's waiting for the round to start. So that's why I think it could have went down. But generally, when new players joined, I verified multiple times. This value doesn't change. So it's not something that's like new players will bring more trouble to the game performance. It can suit any amount of player that's allowed to play the game. If you understand what I'm saying, it's not linear. Each player that joins doesn't bring the same amount of performance performance tasks with them. The CPU looks fine. You could also blame other softwares running in the background for this. GPU also, sent also. Now let's talk about the ping and the receiving. These two are mostly for, like I said, background programs things running in the background. The ping is also influenced by various factors, and this is also partly due to the HTTP service, the receiving. Yeah, but even if it's considered in the orange level, if you check the numbers, it should make Nose Wars a mid-range game. Mid-range game in terms of performance, if you want to look at it that way. It's not something that's really smooth to run, but it's not something that's really bad or complicated to run either. And how does the enlargement of the nose like Pinocchio work? Basically, there's a folder with all of the accessories, and every time you press F, the accessory is replaced with a large one, so that it's like every time you pressing F, your nose is enlarging. And now I'll show you a little bit of gameplay, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So, this is the game, the game's lobby. I'm just gonna tell my friends I'm recording. Okay. So as you can see, this is the lobby. I'm gonna go AFK for a sec, just to show around the lobby and all. See, this is the decoration with a lot of clocks, and see, so here says the winner for the last round. Here says the current map that's chosen. See, they got teleported, but me, I'm AFK. Click here for your premium reward for 100 credits. And if you ever think you have missing badges or data, you just click here. I will check for you, but then the bricks will disappear. There's another clock. There's a competitive mode, which I will show later. There's a hard obby portal and an obby portal. These things just gonna let you get some easy cash while you're waiting for the next round. You could maybe go here, do some obby, get to the end, you'll get an amount of credits. I died there anyway. Get the point. These are the game passes. When you step on them, you get them. There's a PvP arena just in case you're bored in round. Here you get your weapon. You can start fighting. And yeah, now I'm gonna go in round. Oh, yeah, and if you want to look at the shop, these are all the customizations, all the different customizations. When you click here, you can buy a certain customization with Robux, but since I already own the things, it won't let me buy. And this shows the equipped item. I can switch it if I want to. Yeah. Pressing F will enlarge your nose. Have a jetpack if you get a game pass, like this. And there's also blasters that you can shoot with. And there's also a sneeze gun, which makes sneezing sounds. You could hear it. And you can also throw snot balls like that. There's also a paint bomb for those who get the game pass. And what else? Yeah, I think it's around it. You can also use a trowel to block your opponent. You can get this with Game Pass. Just show some swag. Oh, and there's a force field you can use. I died there. Yeah, you could use a force field for defense. Waiting for the next round. The back rooms. And yeah, I was talking about the force field. Okay, he shot me again. And you can spectate the other players while you're waiting. Yeah. Waiting for the next round. See, it's blocked during the intermission, so you can't enter the arcade during the intermission. It's trying to showcase a force field. This only lasts for like 20 seconds. It's a game pass you could get with, I believe, 100 or 150 Robux. Let's wait for it to end. It will end anytime now. Should lose the force field, and you should also lose the item. Yeah, exactly there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll also show around the maps. Oh, one other thing. There's no sabers. Inspired by a particular movie, which I won't name because it might get me copyrighted. I'll show it next round. Let me just go reset myself. Waiting, okay. Yeah, as you can see, it's this, and it also makes a low buzzing sound. So if I turn on the volume, let me just showcase. I didn't want to make the sound too loud. So, see, these blasters make a really huge sound. But yeah, it makes a laser sound if you hear it. I also show gun next, what sound it makes, because the sound was down. Contents, map, okay. Oh, and you also get this winner thing after you win a round. This is a sneezing. See, it makes a sneezing sound when you shoot the others. Deals damage. See, that guy is eliminated. Oh, and you see how the sneeze gun is also decorated the same way as yours. Yeah. Alright, now I'll show you around some other things. Okay, this is the competitive mode. As you can see, it's inspired by a particular movie scene, which I won't name again. And you see here, everyone has these little no sabers they can fight with. Yep, and if you get a game pass, you could spectate two in this game. You can see where the others are. You also have the same game passes from the other game, and you also get a laser stick. And you can use this to fight. You also have a black path, which you can walk. And also a super speed quad. Boost your speed. And the same blaster as always. Oh, and you also get a gear wall that the others don't have when you have this game pass. You just come down here. The other players won't see this gear wall. So let's just say I'm gonna get this portal gun. I think it's my favorite thing. Let me find it. Was it this or this? Wait, not sure. Was it this? Yeah, there we go. See, it teleports you. So this is the benefit of this game pass. I think it got the thing there. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like Sword Fight on the Heights, but a little bit more sophisticated. And yeah, I think that's it for the showcase. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from this document.